Greetings! My name is Will, and this is my introduction video to my YouTube channel. I already have one YouTube video up, and I have a few more in the bag, but before I started posting stuff regularly, I wanted to talk a little bit about who I am, why I'm doing this, and what you can expect from my channel. I didn't want to be just one more douchebag with a whole bunch of video games in the background posting a bunch of crappy videos. Now I realize that the first few videos I have are probably going to be like that, simply because I'm just trying to get a hang of how this thing works and how to interact with the camera, what to show you guys, what not to show you guys, how to edit videos, that sort of thing. It's a little rough, you know, I'm fully aware of that, but I'm having fun doing it, which is the important thing. As I said, my name is Will. I've been collecting video games since you know what, I'm going to say I've been fully collecting since about 1998. I've been playing video games since 1985 when I was 5 years old. My father had a Tandy 1000 computer, so that was my first experience with actual games. And then, you know, we'd have, you know, the occasional video game in school like Oregon Trail or the lemonade stand game that everybody played, or the fish farm thing. It wasn't until 1988 that I got really engaged in gaming. My best friend at the time, actually, Jeffrey Jefferson, he had a Nintendo, and I went over to his house one day, and it was the first time I had ever seen it. I didn't know anything about it prior to that. He had Super Mario Brothers, he had Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, he had Contra, and Excitebike. Now, the first two games that I ever played on the NES were Mike Tyson's Punch-Out and Contra. I take that back. It was Mike Tyson's Punch-Out and Super Mario Brothers. And I remember being absolutely blown away. I didn't actually get a chance to play any of it. You know, I would sit there and just watch him play. But I was totally amazed. You know, I've been captivated ever since. I remember going back and telling my father, because my mom didn't buy video games. My mom was poor. Me, my brother, my sister, and my mom, we all lived in the same apartment. My father lived separately and did his own thing pretty much. But I remember talking to my father about this and just, you know, telling him how excited I was about it. And I would go on and on and on because I was so captivated by it. And I remember this going on for, I want to say it was a couple months. And then one day we went to Toys R Us, and he was like, wait in the car. So he went into the store. About 10-15 minutes later, he came out with something. I didn't know what it was, and he showed me it was a Nintendo, and I was so stoked. I mean, I was just so excited. I couldn't believe it. He bought a copy of Ninja Gaiden and The Legend of Zelda 2. Ninja Gaiden, oh boy, that game was something special, man. Hard as nails, but man, I remember playing that game for 8 hours straight when I got it. 8 hours straight as an 8-year-old kid. You know, it was crazy. I don't think I'd ever done anything for 8 hours straight but sleep. So that was definitely a big, huge defining moment in my life as a gamer. From then on, of course, my father bought more stuff, you know, as the years went by. I think it was 1989, maybe 1990. No, it had to be 89 when he bought a Sega Master System. So the NES kind of got pushed to the side in his mind, and I was able to kind of weasel my way into getting that and taking it home to my mom's house. So there was definitely a lot of missed days of school due to that Nintendo. I remember my mom at one point taking it away and hiding it somewhere in the house, because me and my brother, we would leave for school, and when she left for work, we'd come back and play Nintendo all day. So, you know, she got wind of it, and she took it away, rightfully so. But somehow, I don't remember exactly how, but we earned it back. Back to the Master System, my father had a few games for that too. All in all, he had, I don't know how many games he had, maybe like 12 for the Master System, and I don't know, 25, 30 for the NES. And most of his games were boxed. I take that back. All of his games were boxed, actually. This man did not throw away the cases, the boxes, or the manuals. I wasn't able to get too many of them, but in 1998, he had a bit of a freak out, like a mental breakdown or whatever. And he just kind of disappeared for a while, and his girlfriend at the time, his living girlfriend, wanted to get rid of all his crap while he was going through his thing, because she was just kind of fed up with him. So I tried to salvage as much of his stuff as I possibly could. I didn't wind up getting too many box games, but I asked him about it a couple years ago, and he told me that he doesn't know what he did with it. He gave him away to somebody, but he had some great games, man. A bunch of the black box NES games, complete in a box, and these were all pristine because they just sat on the shelf. They didn't get jacked up at all. Super Mario 2. I mean, there was a lot. I can't even just, like, off the top of my head go over them. And the Master System games. And then we got a Sega Genesis in, I think it was 1991. And he had a bunch of, oh man, he had tons of games for that. Sega Genesis was the shit in that household, man. In his house. Sega Genesis, boy. And that was another one, man. I remember that coming out. And I used to play Ultra Beast in the arcades. And I remember, I think that was the, yeah, it wasn't, I don't think, I know it was a pack-in title. And I remember seeing it at Toys R Us, and man, you ever seen one of those little kids freak out about something that they see on the shelf, like some toy or whatever? Man, I went ballistic, man. I was like, oh, just so excited, man. And I begged my mom to get a Sega Genesis, man, but, you know, she couldn't afford it, so we didn't get one. My father, again, wound up getting one. He kept it at his house. And then he wound up subsequently getting a Sega CD. The only game of note that he bought was Final Fight CD, which is, in my personal opinion, the best Sega CD game in the entire library. Then a 32X, for which I don't think are any good games, but that's what he had. About 1992, right after Street Fighter 2 came out, actually, I was so in love with that game. I still am. That's my favorite game of all time, the original Street Fighter 2. After that game came out on Super Nintendo, man, I put the guilt trip so hard on my mom at the time. She finally broke down and she bought me a Super Nintendo, and she bought me Street Fighter 2. And man, I'll tell you, that was during the summertime, and I did not leave the house the entire summer almost. I played that game every single day, damn near all day, for months. You know, that game was so amazing. Unfortunately, my house got broken into, and anything that I had, any video game stuff I had at the time at my mom's house, was stolen, like the Super Nintendo and the Street Fighter 2. But I wound up getting some of that stuff back later on. I have most of it back now, but let's see, 1996, PlayStation came out, and I was very captivated by that as well. I was very much into basketball at the time. 2 basketball games were out at the time for PlayStation. Well, 3 actually, but I bought 2 of them. NBA Live 96, for which I was a huge fan on the Sega Genesis. Huge. That was my game, man, on Sega Genesis. And then NBA Shootout. And that game, to me, that was, at the time, the epitome of that era's next generation graphics, with the polygons and all that. That game looked so unbelievable to me. I actually went and bought that game with my allowance. I had saved it, and I bought that game before I even had a system. So I had the game sitting in my room, and I told myself, this is my motivation to get myself a PlayStation. I'm going to get one no matter what. You know, it was something a motivational tool that I used to force myself to either save the money or hustle the money and do whatever I needed to do to get me a PlayStation. So, I finally got mine. Actually, my mom bought it for me again, because I played the guilt trip role back on her. I think I gave her a portion of the money though. Had a shit ton of PlayStation 1 games. At the time I didn't, but again, the house got broken into and PlayStation got stolen. So that was another game that I had to rebuy and recollect for. So at this time, you know, I was pretty big into games already. I'd owned a Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, Sega Master System. Somewhere in that period of time, I'd gotten myself Sega Game Gear by hustling, of all things. I'll tell you guys about that later. But and then I had the Sony PlayStation. So I was pretty familiar with games at that time. I always wanted a Game Boy. Never got one. I always asked my father for one for Christmas. Never got one. Didn't actually get one until I started working. I was 18 years old, 17 or 18. The summer I had my first job. That was one of the first big purchases I got. I got myself a Game Boy Color, which I still have, and DuckTales, Street Fighter 2, and NBA Live. That was a special day for me, man. I mean, it was over 10 years of waiting for a Game Boy, and I finally got one. That was a special day for me. Anyway, moving right along. Let's see. PlayStation 2 was coming out in the year 2000. Grabbed myself one of those. Dreamcast had already come out. I wanted one for myself. I didn't get one for myself. The girl I was dating at the time, her birth, was it Christmas? Yeah, it was Christmas that came up. So I bought her a Dreamcast and some games for that. There was a little back and forth with it. She wound up getting it in the end and then breaking it or something. I don't know, whatever. I've got pretty much all the major systems that come out since 1980 right now. I finally got myself a Jaguar in like 2003, 2004, something like that. I got myself a 32X, my own 32X, because I wasn't able to salvage my father's before he did whatever he did with it. I got myself a TurboGrafx 16 that same year. Gosh, I don't want to go through everything, and eventually I'll go ahead and do a room tour, but you know, like I said, I've been gaming since way back, since 1988. I've been seriously gaming, and obviously I don't have enough time to actually go and play everything like I'd love to be able to do, but you know, I still love collecting. I still love sitting down on like a Sunday afternoon or a Saturday morning or whatever, and just vegging out and playing games and trying to, you know, relive, you know, the excitement and those good, warm, fuzzy feelings I got as a kid playing these games. And I think that's what the thing that keeps me going as far as collecting. And you know, whenever I do actually get a chance to play, it's just thinking back to how excited I got for these games as a kid, and that great feeling of I don't know, what would you call it? Just this amazing zest for life, I guess, that I had back then. Well, you kind of, I don't know, I can't say that's for everybody, but myself personally, I lost it a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. You know, you go to work 5-6 days a week, work 10, 11 hours a day. Your excitement for life in general just goes down the tubes, man. You know, life is all about, paying bills and all that, bullshit that we all have to deal with as adults. So this is my one vice as an adult. The one thing that I can get to do that makes me feel like a kid again. So that's why I do it. The reason I'm doing these videos, kind of showcasing everything, is not because I want to brag and be like, oh, look what I got, but I really enjoy the YouTube community. I honestly, I don't think I've ever watched a YouTube video up until about 2011, when somebody kind of put me onto it. And then late 2011, somehow I stumbled across, I think it was a Game Chasers video actually, and I was blown away because I didn't know they had stuff like this on YouTube. So that's actually what got me into collecting again. I had actually stopped collecting like altogether in 2006. Late 2004, maybe 2005ish, I discovered the joys of emulation. So I figured anything that was cartridge based that I can emulate on my computer, I don't need to buy it, a physical copy. So all that stopped then, which I wish it hadn't, but it did. And then like I said, when I saw the Game Chasers and I started seeing not only that some of these games were rare and they're sought after and people are collecting them, and how much fun these guys had looking for these games and how excited they got when they actually saw them, that like really just like sparked that interest in collecting for me again. So I had actually stopped collecting up until the summer of 2012. Even though I was really interested in what was going on in the YouTube community as far as game collecting was concerned, I would watch these videos and I watched these guys talk about them, which was amazing and this was great and super entertaining and all that. But I didn't have the time and I didn't really have the resources to get back into it. So in 2012, I got myself a little bit more financially stable, And I said, you know, once I was done doing the work that I was doing, you know, I was going to go ahead and start getting them back into collecting again. But I kind of went into it the wrong way, because I started picking up pretty much everything I saw. And it's really funny. My experience going back into game collecting was more or less buying shit at retail, which is really expensive, unnecessarily expensive. And like I said, I was buying anything that I had even like a mild interest in. Then I started doing the thrift store shopping, and I'd gone to a couple thrift stores back in like late 2011. I went to one Goodwill, and it was in a terrible place to find games. It was in a really upscale neighborhood with a lot of old retirees and whatnot. So there wasn't much of anything in that area. Didn't find anything. I just kind of put it out of my mind and thought, you know, that's probably what's going to be like typically. But once I said, you know what, I'm going to start looking at multiple thrift stores. I went out one Saturday afternoon, actually, a Saturday afternoon. I went to a thrift store in a very poor part of town, and I could not believe what I found, man. I'll actually go ahead and show it to you. I found this NES top loader for $5. I've been looking for one of these for over 10 years, and I never found one for less than like $50, $60. So when I saw this, you know, there was that feeling of exhilaration and excitement, man, like I don't remember feeling in a long time. I grabbed this. I grabbed a Dogbone controller for $3 and a stack of, you know, common NES games. But that's what really sparked it and got it going again. And from then on, there was no turning back. Now, there wasn't a lot of days where I find stuff like that at the thrift stores, but there was enough days where I found stuff there that I had been looking for many years and never found. I found a lot of great things. I found Sega Nomad for $10. I found an Atari Lynx with, I think it was like 12 games for $40. I'm not going to go into everything that I found at thrift stores, but you know, I found some amazing stuff out there. And this was in Southern California. It's a little different out here, but that feeling that I got when I found that top loader, man, I don't think there's anything that can match that. And that's what I kind of search out for when I go and shop at the thrift stores, and that's what I kind of want to share with you guys a little bit. I think I've gotten a little bit off topic. Back to why I started collecting and whatnot, but the reason I'm doing the videos in general is because I'm 33 years old, man, and obviously this is kind of a childish sort of hobby, and I don't know anybody. I don't think I've ever run across anybody, you know, face to face, in person, that has a passion for this stuff like I do. And when I see all these guys, you know, talking, communicating with each other, making collaboration videos and whatnot on YouTube, it makes me want to get involved with that, because, you know, I want to be able to talk to, you know, people about my experiences with gaming. I want to be able to talk about games and stuff that, you know, I can't really talk to anybody else about. My girlfriend thinks I'm crazy, which, you know, I can kind of understand. And she hates the stuff. She absolutely hates, you know, video games just in general. And she hates it more because I spend so much money on this stuff and so much time that I could be spending on her, which, you know, that's whatever. But it'd be amazing to be able to just kind of be involved in that wonderful YouTube gaming community. So that's the reason I'm doing this. And I know this is going to be long-winded. I'm going to try to chop it up and edit it as much as I can to keep it, you know, relatively short. But that's what I'm shooting for. You know, I want to be able to make trades with folks, and I want to be able to have conversations with people about, you know, their experiences with games and gaming and whatnot. So more than anything else, it's just because I want to be involved in that community. So I kind of battled up and back with the idea of posting videos, not posting videos, whatever. And I didn't want to be, like I said, just another douchebag with a bunch of shit behind them, you know, rambling on at the mouth, not saying anything interesting, doing it in a monotone voice, which I think I'm probably doing right now. But the only way that I'm going to keep these going, I'm going to post a few and see what happens. But the only way I'm going to keep this going is if I can figure out a way to do it and be unique. Hopefully be a little bit humorous, maybe. We'll see. Hopefully be a little informative. But I know the YouTube community is oversaturated right now. I can't tell you how many times I've sit through other people's videos when they just ramble on and on and on, like I said, what I think I'm doing right now, you know, about stuff that people don't want to hear. I don't want to just come out and say, hey, I got this game, and I got this game. No, you know, nobody wants to hear that shit. So, I'm going to try to show some enthusiasm as I'm doing this. Try to have some fun with it, you know, and see where it goes. So, I appreciate anybody who actually watched this video and sat through all this. I hope to hear from you guys, you know, whether it be comments or response videos or whatever. Hopefully it'll be positive, of course. But yeah, hopefully this will turn into something good, and I'll have some fun doing it. Hopefully you guys will have some fun watching it. So that's me. That's what I'm all about right now. So deuces up, man.